What's up, guys? So if you've been following along, we've learned HTML, we've learned some CSS, and I think it's time that we cover a little bit of JavaScript. And JavaScript's going to be super awesome to learn. So if you covered the VS Code tutorial, what I'm going to do is open VS Code, create a new file here. I'm going to call it index.html. And inside of there, I'm going to use Emmet to autocomplete an HTML5 template. We've done this all before. And inside the body, this is going to mean we're going to add a script tag. And inside the script tag, all I'm going to write is console.log hello. Now I'm going to open this with live server. So Command-Shift-P or Control-Shift-P, type live server and open with live server. Now all we see is a blank page, and that's because we have nothing in our body. But what we did add was we added some JavaScript. So if we right click and say inspect and go to console, we'll see hello was loaded. And you might see this. This is live server's own logging. So we won't bother about that for now. It's going to clear up. But we don't want to write all of our JavaScript inside the body tag of our code. We want to write it in its own file. So let's reference this console.log within a file. I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it script.js. And inside here, I'm going to cut this console.log out, and I'm going to paste it here. Save this file. If we save this, we'll see our console is blank. But if we reference that file, so we go source, and from this directory, point to script.js, save, and go back, we'll see we're logging hello again. So before we get into any JavaScript, what is JavaScript? Well, JavaScript is a language which runs inside the browser. So if you're using Chrome, the JavaScript from the website is going to run inside Chrome. If you're using Firefox, Firefox is going to process the JavaScript. If you're using any other browser like, I don't know, Internet Explorer,
you nasty.
it's also going to process the JavaScript as best it can. Let's start writing some JavaScript. The first thing I want to show you is variables. So a variable is basically a placeholder for your data. We can give this string of characters. So we call this a string. So it's a string of characters, and we know it's a string because it's a word wrapped inside. It can be wrapped inside quotes or double quotes. Let me show you. I can also put this in single quotes and it will still work. Save, go back, it still works. So let's change that string and let's say var, because we're making a variable. We're going to say name, and I'm just going to put my name here, Dan. And then we're going to console.log name. And there we see my name is console.logged. And we can change the variable here to, let's say, Todd. And we can go back and we'll see now Todd is console.logged. But if we referenced it before we changed it, so we can say 1, I'm going to say 1, comma, and then 2, and then comma here. And now it will log both, it will log this data and this data. And we save it. We can see first was Dan and then was Todd. But you can imagine that this could cause some issues. If you could just change, if you could just reassign variables all the time, it's going to cause a problem. So when you see newer JavaScript code written, you'll see it's been written with const. And what const does is it doesn't allow you to reassign the variable. So if we go back, we can see we console log Dan, but then there was assignment to constant variable error. We can click it here, and then we can see you can't reassign what name refers to. That's where confusion comes in. So let's go back to our code. But if we wanted to do this in newer versions of JavaScript, we could be more verbose and we could say let. And a let binding allows the value to be changed, just like var. So you can see that now if you go to console, 1 is Dan, 2 is Todd. Generally, you want to use const because you don't want to be reassigning your variables. So let's change this to const, and we'll get rid of this console log, and we'll get rid of this console log. So now we've created a string of characters and we've assigned it to the variable name. Let's assign a number or an integer to the variable age. So we'll create a new variable with const, we'll call it age, and I'll type the age 30. Now we can log both these values. So console.log name, comma, age, and we'll see the name logged with our age. There's another important data type called the array. An array is where we could put lots of different data into an array of data. I'll show you. So we can say const languages, and an array is created by using square brackets. So everything within these square brackets is an array of data. So we could say, let's say PHP and Python. And if we log this here, we'll see that we have Dan, 30, and then an array of languages here, PHP and Python. You'll also notice that when we log the array, it has 0 is PHP and 1 is Python. These are the indexes of the data within the array. That means that the array at point 0 refers to PHP, and the array at point 1 refers to Python. This means that we can grab the data of the array at a specific index. So if we go languages, I'm just going to not log these anymore, but if we go languages 0, so we're referring to the first index, 0 based, so 0 is the first index of the languages array, and that will refer to PHP. If we go to 1, it's going to refer to Python. But if we put in 2 here, so we don't actually have an array at index 2. I mean, we don't really have a value at index 2. It's going to just refer to undefined. We could add values to an array once it's declared by using what's called the push function. So we can go languages, and then we can push data onto the end of the array. And let's say here, JavaScript. So now let's see what's there at the index 2, and we have a value there, because if we log the whole array, we can see now there's 3 values on the array. PHP is at index 0, Python is at index 1, and JavaScript is at index 2. Cool. There's another very important data type called object, and you're going to be using these all the time when you work with JavaScript. You're going to be using all of these data types all the time, to be honest. So we'll make a new object. I'm going to call it user, and you create an object by using curly braces. And what an object is a key value store. So if you think of a key value store, it's kind of like when you open up a dictionary and you're looking at a dictionary, the key would be the word and the value would be the definition. So you're referencing it by the key because it's easy to find, and then the value is what you really want to get out of it. Let's make a user object, and we can say that the name refers to Dan, let's say, and the age refers to, let's say, just to make it different, we'll say 25, and we can say languages, and we can make a new array here. Let's say HTML, CSS. So now if we log user, we'll console log the object. So we have the age of 25, the languages with the array that we put in, and the name here, Dan. You'll also notice that it's not in order. So unlike the array, which is ordered and has indexes to look up the data, we instead with the user, we use keys. If we want to just look up the key name in user, we go user dot name. Save it, and then we'll have Dan logged here. But we can also use our old variable values. So we already have a name assigned to Dan, so we don't have to declare Dan again. Here, what we can do is we can say the key name refers to the variable name. Save that, and Dan is still logged. In modern JavaScript, what you can actually do is, if this is the case, if the key and the variable have the same name, then you don't actually need to bind it with then you don't actually need to be verbose in binding it like that. We can just say name, save, and there we go, Dan is logged. So the last thing I want to show you is how to run functions. So functions are integral in creating any kind of code because that's the thing that will actually do something. So let's create a function that determines whether a user is awesome or not. So we'll create a function and we'll call it is awesome. And this function will take in a user, and everything in the function is written within curly braces. So everything here is called the body of the function, everything that we write here. So we'll take this away. So we'll delete that console log and let's just clean this up a bit. I'm going to delete these variables and I'm just going to put, I'm going to hardcode Dan here. And then remember your comma. Cool. So now we need a function that takes in a user and determines whether the user is awesome or not. It takes in the user and let's see. We'll return a string from the function and we could say user.name plus is awesome. So if we console.log is awesome and we'll pass our user to that function and we save it, it will run and it just says Dan is awesome. So I just want to go over something that I was kind of taking for granted when I made this video quickly, and it's how to concatenate strings and how to add numbers. If I console.log 1 plus 1, the answer is going to be 2. But if I console.log the string 1 plus the string 1, I'm going to get 11. It's going to join 1 next to 1. If I console.log 1 plus the string 1, I'm going to get, again, 11. So it's going to convert the integer 1 to the string type. And if I do it the other way around, it's going to be 11 again. So I just wanted to show you that this is how we can join strings. So if we said on the code again, these two strings are going to be joined. So if I add a string plus a string, I get the two strings combined. If I add a number plus a number, I'll get them added to each other. So if I add 100 plus 200, I'll get 300. Cool, I hope that's clear. Cheers. So, but it's not really determining if Dan is awesome or not. What we need some logic. So let's say if the user has the name Dan, then they're awesome. If they don't, then you know what, they're not awesome. To create logic, which is basically what programs are, we can use an if statement. And an if statement basically decides if something is true, do this. If it's not true, do something else. So we can say if user.name is equal to Dan, then return user.name is awesome, else return user.name is not awesome. Save this, and when we console log this, we still see Dan is awesome. So what's going on here? So we're running this function, we're passing it through the user. We can actually console.log the user here. So we could say user is equal to, and pass through the user, and the user is equal to this user. And then we check whether the user.name is equal to Dan. So here you can see, like, why don't we do it this way? And that's because that's how we assign variables. So to test whether variables are equal, we can either use double equals or triple equals. Double equals won't check the type. So if we had, 7 double equals 7, this will be true. But 7 triple equals 7 like this is false. And that's because 7 is an integer and 7 in quotes is a string. Hey guys, so I just realized I was using comments, but I didn't really speak about them. So comments are if you want to write text in your program, but you don't want it to execute. I'll show you how to do that. So to create a comment, you just put 2 forward slashes, and then you could say, this logs 100 plus 200. And when we check that in the browser, we can see the console log runs, which is this line, but this line does nothing. If we took away the comment, when we ran it, the script would break. So that's how you comment code. The shortcut is normally control plus forward slash or command plus forward slash. We can actually just return true here and false here. And now we can use this function in its own if condition. So we can go below it where it's written, and we can say if is awesome user. I'll just take this here. We can console.log. User is awesome. And we can go else. We can console.log, just copying it. Try again, dude. And there we go. So we rerun it and it's console logs user is awesome. We saw this. But if we change the user here to have the name Todd, we rerun it. Try again, dude. So what if Todd is also awesome? So we'll need to update our is awesome function. So what we can do is we can say if user.name is triple equals to Dan, and that's the two pipes together are or user.name is equal to Todd, then you know what, they're also awesome. So if we save this and rerun it, then we go user is awesome. There's still another condition we can add. So we have, if the username is Dan, then you know what, they're awesome. Or if the username is Todd, then they're awesome. Hey guys, so while editing this video, I just realized I didn't cover everything that I wanted to with logical conditions. I just covered the or condition, but there's also, you can also use an and condition. So we could say if 5 is greater than 6 and 6 is less than 5, which obviously it won't be, console.log hello else console.log by. So if we go to our log, it's logging by, and that's because 6 is obviously not less than 5. But if in the beginning we said if true or 5 is greater than 6 and 6 less than 5, what do you think we're going to get? I think it might surprise you. We're going to get hello. So what's happening is that the first condition passes, then it completely ignores the rest of the if statement because it's already passed. So to minimize on processing, checks the first condition. If it's true, then carry on. If it's not true, carries on processing until you get to a true. If it doesn't hit a true, then we'll hit the else if there is an else. So before we just finish this tutorial, I want to clear everything and let's do some functions which involve numbers. So we'll create a function called add numbers, and this function will take in a number 1 and a number 2, and it will return number 1 plus number 2. And then we can console.log add numbers, and we can say pass 1 and 5. Save this and Yeah, we got 6. We can make a new function here called multiply numbers, and that can take a number 1 and a number 2, and that can return number 1 times by number 2. And then 1 times 5, it will give us 5. So I just wanted to go over what we're actually doing here. So multiply numbers, we've created a function, and we said function multiply numbers. We're passing it 2 arguments. So the arguments are number 1 and number 2, and then we're returning number 1 times by number 2, and that result is being, so we can actually take this out and we can actually say const result, and result, and we can log the result here. So that result is a value being returned by this function. So we can also use numbers in logical operators. So if you say if 10 is greater than 5, then, we can console.log everything is right with the world. Else, we can say console.log something weird is happening. And we'll get everything is right with the world, thank goodness. You don't actually need this else condition. If we run this, it will still work without it. We can actually also say, if we make this, if 5 is greater than 5, which it's not, 5 is equal to 5, we can say else if 5 is equal to 5, log 5 is equal to 5. Who would have thought? So we can also actually run functions within the if conditions. We can also say if add numbers 10 and 5 is equal to multiply numbers 3 and 5. We can console.log. Yay. So we're checking now if add numbers 10 and 5, which will give us 15, is equal to multiply numbers, so 3 times by 5, which is also 15. Then we're going to console log yay. And if we go back to our browser, we console logged it. But we can also say if it's greater than or equal to, and that will still console log yay because it is greater than or equal to. If we said less than or equal to, it'll still log it, but it wouldn't log if we took out the equal sign because it's not less than, it's equal to. Okay, so there we go. We've covered a lot. So there's definitely enough scope here to play around yourself. But I think let's rather in the next video make a project which does something, and I'm thinking a mini quiz kind of application. I hope you really enjoyed this. If you got help from this, please like, please subscribe. It really helps. Thanks, guys. Cheers.